On today's show, we're going to talk about Football Manager's training module. We're going to see whether or not training sessions are helping fullbacks improve their crossing. Are youth players getting better? I ran well over 100 simulations to find out. I mobilized a lot of computers to get this done. And today I'm going to share the results. As some of you are probably aware, it's pretty difficult to get fullbacks to improve their crossing. That was the case last year. 2 years ago, we actually had to move the fullbacks into the attacking unit so that they could improve crossing. But this year, I wanted to dive into the game and run a lot of simulations to find out if it's possible for those fullbacks to improve their crossing. And I found out, yes, fullbacks do improve their crossing over time. In fact, compared to last year, the training sessions right now, if you put in the schedules, you will see gains in certain attributes. There are some attributes that are not showing a lot of improvement. Later on in the show, I'm going to be sharing with you schedules that work for me on Football Manager 23. There's going to be a whole host of schedules that you can use in your game. Meanwhile, what I'm going to be doing is explaining the methodology that I use with VfB Stuttgart. Now, Stuttgart is a very good test case. So this is a team that is predominantly young. It makes for a very, very good testing team. And what I did was very simple. So I went into the game, gave VfB Stuttgart a tactic they could use for an entire season. Then I also told the ass-man to take over training. He takes over training for only the first 4 weeks during preseason. After that, I gave them one schedule and they used that schedule for 3 seasons. You know, I keep repeating the same process, hence 100 simulations. But I do this with multiple training schedules because I wanted to find out how attributes were being distributed over time. Before I go any further, I need to explain growth in terms of how Sports Interactive sees this. Now, whenever players develop, there's something called CAPA progression. It's a ratio, right? Essentially, most teams are operating at 90% of their full potential. That means they only need to grow by 10% to hit full potential. Now, there's a time frame for this to happen. And then there's going to be a growth rate, right? So normally you don't want to see growth rates being very high. If they're very high, teams hit full progression, full potential in maybe 2 or 3 seasons. Not something SI wants to see. So whenever SI test their training out, they want to make sure that, hey, it goes at a reasonable clip. And a reasonable clip in SI's world is about 1 to 2%. Yes. So you're not going to see 4%. You're not going to see 5%. I mean, you might get one player who gets fantastic growth in a season, but you won't see him doing it every season, right? So he might grow by 2 to 3% in one season, but then he'll drop. But at the end of the day, for the whole squad, because we're looking at the whole squad, the growth of the whole squad will be about 1 to 2% a season. So a good training schedule will probably be hitting close to 2%, and an average training schedule will be hitting on the low end of 1%. So I tried out plenty of schedules, right? And this is what I found out. Now you can develop players pretty easily. However, there are going to be some attributes that are just so difficult to improve. One of them, surprisingly, is going to be teamwork. Over 3 seasons, I found that a lot of training schedules, I tried all kinds of training schedules, some even front-loaded to do a lot of teamwork. You won't see a lot of this. Teamwork is one of those attributes that is really slow to improve in the game. It's something that SI might want to address. The second thing I found was work rate. Sometimes work rate stays stable. Also another one that doesn't explode, right? I hardly ever saw any growth in work rate. And pink color denotes actually, this is the base year, right? This the aggregate value for the whole squad. So when I look at the aggregate value, very rare. It never happened, not once. However, I found out that crossing actually improves. So a lot of training schedules that I tried, they would improve, not by a lot, by a few points. And we had bravery would sometimes go down if there were a lot of injuries. Most of the attributes were improving: agility, anticipation, balance, decision-making, composure, concentration, jumping, leadership. Of all the attributes, we don't want those to improve. Off the ball, improve, tackling would improve, positioning would improve. So a lot of these attributes are improving across the board. Yeah, I went through so many numbers. I think my eyes became a bit blurred yesterday, even on the stream. Here, this plot's variance. In other words, the difference in CA between the base year and the final year, we go as low as 12, which is 0, and then up as high as 40. I managed to breach 50 a few times with one training schedule, which is basically a 2% growth in CA. Now, as far as SI is concerned, there are areas that SI want to address and improve moving forward. For now, what I can see is that some of these attributes are improving, some aren't. So I think the best approach for training would be to keep it as balanced as possible. I also found out some pretty interesting things. When you go into the game, you've got the option of training a player by playing position or by role. And right now, there's not too much difference between the two. So if you're the sort of person that's always cracking your head going, should I train him in a position or a role? Know this. The difference is marginal. It's marginal in favor of choosing a role, but it's not the end of the world if you don't. When it comes to youth players, I find less is more, right? Less games, more training, until they're 18, of course. And then less is more also applies to their training positions. Because when it comes to youth players, if you take a youth player and start giving him maybe box-to-box midfielder training, right? He's young, you're not sure, you're just going to give him something simple. There are a lot of attributes in box-to-box midfielder. So in terms of his growth, it might just be a very balanced growth that is just, in most of these attributes. But once he hits his PA, he's gone. And sometimes some of those technical attributes may not improve very well. So if you're thinking, maybe I want this player to improve his tackling and that's something you want him to do, then make him train as a ball-winning midfielder. At least then you're focusing his development along a very narrow path, so then you maximize his development if those are certainly the attributes you're after. There are other things that I noticed as well. Now, because this season we have the World Cup, it affects training in a big way. Now, if you're the sort of person that wants to promote every single youngster into the main team, don't. Stop. In fact, I would say this is not a good year to promote anybody. Because if you're promoting them to the main team, they're going to be affected by the main team schedule. Now, the main team schedule will sometimes have 2 or 3 games in a week. An 18-year-old player going into a team that's only training maybe 3 times a week because of games is going to be affected because he needs to spend more time training. So what you want to be doing this season is making sure that unless that player is playing every single game with the main team, he does not move into the senior team. Because until they are 18, they're better off training full-time. Let's run through all these training schedules. We'll run through with the 2 main ones. Now, you've got BTN Bootcamp. You can use this on the first week of pre-season. Only use this for 1 week, please. You don't want to use it for all 4 weeks. You might not have any players left if you do. So you use this for 1 week. This year, there's a few changes to the training schedule. Firstly, we've got ball retention, transition, restrict play from the back. Now, these are basically sessions that will work on the mental side of the game in terms of first touch, anticipation, composure, decisions, and teamwork. Off the ball is going to be covered by attacking, and defending is going to take care of anticipation, concentration, decisions, positioning, teamwork, work rate for the whole team. So we're going to hit the whole team with these attributes. It's pretty balanced. And then we've got match practice. Now, match practice, you're going to have to use it. I found that you don't need 2 because 2 is a bit of an overkill. You don't really need 2 anymore. In fact, you don't even need 4 or 5 if you can get them in. I find that match practice is solid. But every time you use match practice, this is something that you have to do. You see this injury risk? If you remove recovery, you will discover that the injury risk goes up. Now, if you put injury risk, you put recovery back in, the risk of injury is lowered. This season, especially because of the World Cup season, you want to be having recovery sessions in the week itself when you're doing your training so that it reduces the risk of injury leading up to the first game of the season. So the guys on Discord, they've been very nice. They've been asking for lots of different variations of the midweek sessions. So we've got lots. We've got Thursday and Sunday games. Again, we got recovery session following match practice. We got recovery here. We got recovery here leading on to this game. Then we've got BTN Tuesday and Friday. Once again, we got recovery here. We got recovery here. We got recovery here. This is just, keeping it light so we don't push our team. They're going from a Tuesday match to a Friday match. Sometimes you don't have much time to prepare. But in terms of, we get plenty of match practice in, right? So we got 1 match practice here. And you could actually slot another match practice in here if you wanted, but I think attacking is something that we really need this year. Then we got the Wednesday, Saturday game. We got a game here and a game here. We put match practice here. We give it 1 recovery. Then it's attacking movement, defensive shape, match preview. Then they have the match. They do recovery. And then attacking movement, defensive shape, match preview. There's a match. And then they rest the following day. I'm going to talk about the magic rest button very, very soon. Then we've got Wednesday, Sunday. We've got recovery, attacking movement, attacking, transition, restrict, attacking, match practice, defensive shape, match preview with plenty of recovery sessions to help our team out. And then we got the youth training schedule. Now, this youth training schedule is very interesting. I've done it in such a way because sometimes they don't have any matches, right? And then we end up giving them 2 days off. if a match does fall on a Sunday, then this will automatically get removed. Then you get the bulk here. So my suggestion is to keep this, and then these are extra sessions that can go into a week when there's no training, right? So match practice, recovery, and recovery. This is actually good for a youth team, and I would recommend keeping it this way. I can also confirm one other thing. If you don't put your team on double intensity, then players who hardly ever play games are not going to be training at the maximum capacity, and it will affect the development. Numerous simulations have shown me that you need double intensity. What you do from week to week when you're playing the game to ensure that your players are available for matches is to do this. So sometimes you're going to have a lot of matches in a week, right? And then you're going to be faced with a situation where you go, oh my God, what am I going to do? I've got 3 games a week. My players are tired. Immediately following a game, choose the players who are very important, right? You think you're going to be starting them in the next game. They look like they're tired. Right click on them, come in here training, and give them 1 rest day. And what I found is this actually reduces the chance of injury, and it also improves their recovery time for games. So let's summarize everything as quickly as we can. This is a World Cup year. You have plenty of youth players. You don't need to promote them into the senior team because the senior team isn't training every single day. This will affect the development of the youth players. Leave them where they are. Only promote those who are going to be playing every single game. 2, there's not much difference between position and role training. If you chose role training because you want specific development, it can still work, but the gains are marginal compared to choosing position training. Because crossing and finishing are heavily weighted in some of the roles, they're taking a while to improve. Quite a challenge. And while I can see them improving in my simulations, it don't happen all the time. So it's going to be quite challenging, right? I'm hoping that as I do address this later on. Meanwhile, I hope you found this video useful. And if you have any questions, you guys know where to find me. You guys stay safe, take care of each other. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.